How's everybody doing for Tuesday?
Pretty good.
Oh, Danya, stay on. We'll talk about that after class.
That's then disproved by Alice's blood being found on the steering wheel of his car, Alice's blood being found on his Help for Heroes angle, DNA being found in those locations. So he has to abandon that.
Okay, we're still waiting for a few more students. Maisha. Is Maisha here? Let's see, Maisha. Christina. Sure. Sure. Maisha, Devion, and Christina. Okay. We'll go ahead and get started. Wait for the others to join. So happy Tuesday, week 9. Getting busy, getting really busy. We're in the thick of things, right? Today I want to go over any questions you might have so far. And I want to go back to the announcements and cover the long announcement that I sent on Sunday. I believe it was the roadmap for the rest of the term. Make sure you all saw the schedule for the upcoming HESIs. Essington, Port St. Lucie, Centerville, yes, I believe all those were in there. And then we'll review content from week 9, our last 2 concepts, human abuse and violence and cultural. And then we will do the case study. So let's start off with any questions. Does anybody have any questions? How are you coming with your HESI prep? How's everybody coming with their HESI prep assignment that's due on Sunday?
Professor Marvel.
Uh-huh.
On the HESI prep, there's a box that says community, UTI, reduced frequency, MCMA. What is MCMA?
Yeah, we talked about that. I talked about that with a student yesterday. That's the MC, say it again, monoclonal antibody. So remember the HESI prep. Each of the boxes represents some kind of question. Okay. And so the concepts that those boxes are under, the concepts have been covered in class. However, if you'll notice, a lot of the HESI prep are med-surg focused. Okay, so if I haven't covered that in class, the med-surg part of it, you're going to have to go back and look at your med-surg notes class, and we also have the med-surg book, okay, to get additional information.
Yeah, I just didn't know what MCMA was.
Monoclonal antibodies.
Okay.
Okay. So remember, you will be able to pull a lot of the information from your HESI prep from lecture notes from your weekly notes, but there are other boxes that, like I said, they're not covered in the community class, but the HESI is intended to bring everything together, right? So that's why it has med-surg questions on it, pediatric questions on it, caring for the elderly on it. And so you're going to have to go back and pull from all of those classes and notes and use the books that you have assigned to this class, right? The PEDS maternity book, the fundamentals book, and your med-surg book.
Okay.
Okay, does that help?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions on the HESI prep? Let me share my screen here. So the one announcement that I want to go through a couple of announcements. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I sent you out, from what I can see, are the dates for community HESIs. Okay, if you haven't opened that announcement yet, here's your campus. Okay, so Port St. Lucie on Tuesday, Essington, I believe, is on Monday, and then Centerville, there's a couple of options for Centerville on Friday. I don't have anything to do with the scheduling of the HESIs. Your campus should be reaching out to you for whatever their sign up procedures are. Okay, so this is simply to provide you with some dates. I'm not sure if your other classes have given you your dates yet, but I'm just trying to help you get organized for week 11. Okay, have any campuses reached out to you yet to schedule your HESIs?
Mine did. I have mine.
They did. Oh, great. Okay, super. What about Essington? Has Essington reached out yet for you to schedule your HESIs? Yes, no?
Years scheduled. They
Oh,
scheduled it.
great.
It's for Monday.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So that's one announcement I wanted to point out. I did yesterday send an updated, well, take that back. In the big announcement, I sent you a schedule of exam 3 reviews this week, then HESI reviews next week. I sent you an updated one yesterday. Professor Kershaw had changed her HESI time. So this is what you got yesterday. So in yellow are the exam 3 reviews for this week. Was anybody able to go to the one this morning with Professor Ford? She had hers this morning, so I should be getting that recording later on today, and I will post that. Okay, so pardon me?
I was there.
Oh, did you go? Good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I should be getting a recording of that later today, and I will post that in your announcements. So that will be the first of your 3 reviews. I have mine coming up on Friday after my class at 11 Eastern, and then Professor Kershaw will be doing hers on Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. And then this was the adjusted time. I think it was originally going to be on the 18th. Now she's doing it on the 14th. So I put that in purple, and I think I mentioned that in the announcement. And then the other 2 HESI reviews are in green. Okay, so this week is exam 3 reviews. Next week is HESI reviews. Okay. And I wanted to go over this roadmap. Okay. I always find it helpful towards the end of the term, since we're so busy, to try and outline a roadmap for you for the rest of the 4 weeks. Okay, so this week is a busy week. Okay, we've got 3 things due. Okay, you've got your NCLEX, right? You have your 3rd NCLEX, which is due on Sunday. You have a HESI case study, domestic violence and cultural competency. And then you have your HESI prep assignment due on Sunday. And the fourth thing to add to this week is if you can get to an exam review. Okay? So that's this week. And next week, we have another big project. We have our vulnerable populations. That's your individual PowerPoint assignment. Okay, so between this week's HESI prep and next week's vulnerable populations assignment, that's 10% of your homework grade. So make sure you get these in. Okay, 5% for the HESI prep and 5% for the vulnerable populations. Okay. Next week we'll be taking the exam 3, and we'll have grades posted on Saturday. Okay, your vulnerable populations assignment. Preparing for your HESI, just put a note in there, review your HESI prep assignment, the study guides that you've created for exams 1, 2, and 3, your weekly notes, key concepts. Okay. And then week 11 is HESI week. Okay, there is no class on HESI week. So make note of that. All right. And during week 11, your attendance will be counted as you taking your HESI. That's how you get attendance for week 11. The other thing not to forget in week 11, I know it's a busy week with HESI, but you have your last set of NCLEX questions due in this community class. Okay. After week 11, after that Sunday, March 24th, I can't accept any late work. Okay, so that would mean from week 10, since you only have a week to make it up. So if you hadn't turned your vulnerable populations paper in on the day it was due, I think on the Sunday the 18th, you would technically have up to a week to complete it for a 10% deduction, but I can't accept any late work after Sunday, March 24th. So that last NCLEX assignment has to be on time. Okay, because starting Monday morning, we start closing grade books. Okay. The other thing I would suggest, I think the schedule said that Essington takes their HESI on Monday, Port St. Lucie Tuesday. As soon as you finish your HESI and you get your remediation packets, I would highly suggest that you get that remediation packet completed. Okay. The bottom here of this assignment, I have a couple of things. I have our week 9 notes that will content notes. Here's our case study that we're going to do in class today. But I want to point out, I have sent you now the remediation guidelines. Okay, and this is something you've seen before. I'm just posting it for you. These are the required hours for remediation, depending on your HESI score. Okay, so you have that.
I have a question because we have different requirements at our campus than we do online. So when we do our remediation, do we have to do 2 cases for that to count, or can we just do the remediation packets? Because sometime last semester for our HESI in one of our classes, we had to do all the case studies and then our packets, and that was way over our time.
Okay. My suggestion would be that you do the remediation first, and then if you still need to do additional time, you can go into the case studies.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Remediation is due that Monday of week 12. Okay, so if you, like I said, the sooner you can get it done, the better. Once you complete remediation, I can post your HESI grade in the grade book so you can get an idea of where you're at, but I can't do that until you complete remediation. But remediation is due no later than that Monday of week 12. So it would be the night before class.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The way you get attendance in week 12 is we do have class in week 12, but it's a real short class. Okay. So we come and we talk about the HESI, we do any end of term advising, we answer any questions. It's a very short class, 10-15 minutes, but you have to show up to get attendance in week 12. Okay, and it's no different from last term. I'm just reminding you. Okay, and that's right here. You'll need to attend class during week 12 at your scheduled time to get attendance. Be a shortened class. We'll do end of term advising and discuss the HESI. Okay, so does anybody have any questions about that? Okay, just doing a quick check here. Who can I not see? Jay Laquan, I can't see you. Maisha, I can't see you. Elise, I can't see you. There you are. Okay. So does anybody have any questions about that announcement with the last 4 weeks? No? Okay. All right, let's cover our week 9 content. I also have the books open too. I want to point out a couple of things in the books after we go through the content. Okay. So let's cover human abuse and violence first. Okay, when we think of human abuse and violence, what kinds of human abuse and violence do we think about? What could we be talking about here?
Domestic violence,
Domestic violence, what else?
child abuse,
Child
Early-
abuse, child neglect, what else?
early- elderly,
Elder abuse,
Physical neglect, failure to provide, for, your family or
Mhm,
the elderly, if you're
Mhm.
taking care of somebody,
mhm.
giving them medical care.
Okay. But intimate
Substance
partner,
abuse,
what?
substance abuse too.
That contributes to it, yes, absolutely. What about intimate partner violence?
Yes.
What about assault? Murder? Battery? What about human trafficking?
Yes.
Suicide? Violence against yourself? Right?
Mhm.
Okay, we know that I'm just looking at the notes here. Going to go through these. Violence is a maladaptive coping mechanism, right? Violence is more common in vulnerable populations. So more common in the elderly, more common with kids, more common with people that have lots of comorbidities going on, substance abuse, alcoholism, chronic, long-term chronic diseases, homelessness, homeless population, pregnancy, teen pregnancy. Right? It is typically predictable and thus preventable if we look at both victims and perpetrators. Over the course of your nursing career, you're going to be caring for clients that may be victims and they may be perpetrators. Right? People who typically become involved in violence have had typically have had a previous exposure of some kind. Maybe they were a victim. Okay, maybe their siblings were victims. Maybe they themselves was a victim of child abuse. Their siblings, they saw domestic violence with their parents or family members or relatives or neighbors. Okay, abusers were often beaten when they were children. or they witness, like I said, siblings or their parents being beaten. They learn that violence is a way to manage conflict. Okay, we definitely know that high levels of violence are tied to health disparities or adverse outcomes. So what do we mean when we talk about health disparities? Maybe the community they live in has a high crime violence rate. Okay, maybe the community they live in, there's a large portion of the population that live in poverty, have lots of additional stressors. Maybe the unemployment rate is high. Maybe there's not a lot of resources for them in those communities. Okay. Chronic stress. People have chronic stress from maybe life circumstances or family circumstances. There's a lot of reasons for violence. Okay. As nurses, we're mandated reporters. What does that mean?
We have no choice but to report. We could lose our license.
Yep. And that just doesn't apply to work, right?
Right.
That applies to the grocery store, to the park, the rec center, to the neighbor's house, the neighbor's backyard. If we notice or suspect anything, we need to say something. I had a lot of experience with this working in the schools. Okay, we are mandated reporters, especially against children and the elderly.
Mhm.
We typically do not report violence against adults unless we have their permission. Okay, there's a difference between physical neglect and emotional neglect. Physical neglect, we had a quiz question on that last week. Failure to provide adequate food, clothing, shelter, hygiene, and medical care. Emotional neglect is really the absence of nurturing, the absence of acceptance, the absence of monitoring, caring for healthy development of kids and elders. We know the kids who are exposed to violence, whether they're victims themselves or actual witnesses, they become much higher risk for developing mental disorders. They become much higher risk for self-harm behaviors, for substance abuse, for suicidal thoughts, and even completed suicide. We know that abuse is about power and control. Right? Family violence is typically between them, typically looks to be the most powerful against the least powerful. So maybe the parent or the guardian or the uncle or the aunt against the least powerful, the children, or the elderly parents who are living with them. Right? Family violence is actually a perpetuated cycle. So kids grow up seeing it, and then they learn that this is a method of how they control or how they function when they get older. Right? We know that abused kids are much more likely to perpetuate violence or tolerate violence in their own relationships as adults. Families living, we talked about this, in stressful environments with economic strains. Maybe they're dealing with crises within their family, unplanned pregnancy, unemployment, divorce, infidelity. Those are much higher risk environments to experience violence. Social isolation. Lack of support, social support, maybe lack of family members living around them, or support services or resources in the community. In particular, kids that are prone to, kids that are at high risk for violence in their environment, They may be prone to more frequent headaches and stomach aches, bedwetting, anxiety, depression, behavioral issues at school. And we have intimate partner homicide or intimate partner violence. One of the biggest risk factors for intimate partner homicide is some kind of a previous domestic violence incident. Other risk factors for intimate partner homicide, this is when one person in the partnership kills the other one. Maybe there's an increased access to guns. There's some kind of estrangement going on. Or threats of violence, threats of harm. Stepchildren in the home. And then abused women, on the other hand, prone to headaches, palpitations, sleep and appetite disturbances, sexual dysfunction, maybe irritable bowel syndrome from the stress, UTIs, frequent urinary tract issues, recurrent vaginal infections. And remember, violence does increase during pregnancy, especially with the teen pregnant moms, okay, which creates much higher risk for more miscarriages, more stillbirths, premature babies, low birth weight babies. Okay, when working with clients, when we suspect any kind of abuse is going on in an adult, how would we approach? What's the best way to approach and talk to potential clients that you find that may be at risk for abuse? What would you suggest?
Non-judgmental ways.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
A lot of times they're feeling guilt, they're feeling shame, right? They don't want to come forward. They don't want to tell their story. So how do we approach them or listen to them in a very non-judgmental way? We want them to tell their story because we want to know what's going on. We don't want them returning to situations in which they're at risk for more violence, right?
mhm.
Elder abuse. We talked about this a lot in class yesterday, and lots of students gave lots of examples of witnessing this in their areas of employment. You know, elder abuse, because the highest population that we have right now are elders, right? People living longer, right? So very, very high population of the elderly, and elder abuse is becoming more common and more common. That can include any kind of physical violence, emotional abuse or neglect, financial abuse or neglect. When we're looking at emotional abuse in the elderly, maybe you observe behaviors such as demeaning or name calling, right? Trying to affect their self-esteem, maybe trying to scare them, embarrass them, destroy their property, maybe preventing them from seeing family and friends or any of their support systems. Does anybody have any examples they'd like to share of witnessing elder abuse and what kinds of abuse you've witnessed in your workplaces or in your community setting? Everybody's quiet today. I'm not going to do all the talking. So I need people to participate. Has anybody witnessed any kind of elder abuse?
And someone took away their money and just basically spent it. That happens a lot to the elderly people,
It does.
especially if they're in a home with the people they live there.
Yeah. What if they live in the home with their family and one of the kids or relatives takes over all the finances for the family and starts doing things that they shouldn't be? Has anybody witnessed anything or has any examples to share? Let's see, I'm still not seeing Josephine. I'm not seeing Maisha. I'm not seeing Jay Laquan. Where are you guys? What kinds of things, what kinds of risk factors are in play with elder abuse? What do you think?
Them getting physically hurt. They might get like I know of a case where the mother was 99. She lived with the son. Well, he lived with her. He sold her house. He didn't tell her. He had an accident, and a bad accident, so he had to be put in the hospital. The mom had nowhere to go. She was sitting in the hospital, and DCF got involved. So finally she came down to Florida where her grandchildren were. They couldn't take care of her because of her mind. But she had this clinging like relationship with this son who had really been abusing her because she wasn't eating right. Her mind wasn't right. And he was an alcoholic. So when he got out of the hospital, he found out she was here in Florida. He came to Florida. The grandchildren didn't want him to see her, so they put like this restraint on him, but she was in this assisted living facility, and they really couldn't honor that restraint order that the grandchildren had put on. So he could come visit her. And when he did come visit her, he had access to the money, but he got it back some kind of way. And he was still drunk. He used to come. He would be drunk when he come, loud, obnoxious, and she was like I said, she had this clinging for him. And I think it was because of the way that he was treating her. Anyway, he was driving and he had an accident here in Florida, and he got hurt really bad. They found him dead. They found him dead in his apartment, and a week later she died. Because she was so close, she was so close with him, and she had two sons. One son had died like a year before. So I guess she felt like he was all she had.
Absolutely.
He used to talk to her really bad. He would take her money, do whatever he wanted, but he was an alcoholic, and he didn't take care of him.
Yeah, well, it's sad. I had a couple of students share yesterday about their workplace. One student witnessed another coworker actually slapping a resident. Right? Another student shared and went through that whole process. Another student shared about a coworker or client refusing to let family come in. When the family would call to come and visit, the staff member would say, no, he's sleeping or he's busy, whatever, and went weeks upon weeks without seeing family members.
I have a residence too that the family itself is the one that what is this? Don't want their mom to eat. Yeah, like they don't when their mom was sleeping, they will just tell us that just give her an ice cream when she got up, which is not a food for me. So it seems like to me that they are the one that don't want, that restricted their mom, that they want their mom to pass away. I don't know. Yeah, because they're surprised when we told them that their mom eat good. They said that, oh, she changed. No, she never changed. She eat good, but you are the one who restricted not to let her eat.
And I spent some time on elder abuse because it is covered on exam 3, and it is definitely covered on the HESI. Definitely covered on the HESI. So that's why I want to make sure you have a good understanding of just how many different scenarios are at play. I mean, it could be in a nursing home, assisted living facility, or rehab facility. You could notice it when maybe somebody brings elderly person for their doctor's appointment. You could notice things are going on or have red flags, right?
Especially
you
when
do-
they won't let them answer questions.
Pardon
They
me?
ask-
Yeah,
They won't, yeah.
right, right. And then in the home, I mean, think about doing a home visit. Part of your home visit, for whatever reason you're there for, is to do a full home environmental assessment. And that includes a safety assessment, right? A risk assessment, especially with our elderly clients, since they're so at risk for abuse and neglect. Okay. Okay. Let's keep going. We were talking about elders at risk for any kind of violence, physical, emotional, financial, demeaning, neglect, and not taking care of their basic needs, food, housing, clothing, medical care, maybe, and even the elderly fear abandonment. They don't feel like they're being taken care of. They may feel a sense of abandonment, right? And suicide is another kind of violence. Okay, it's a self-directed violence. It actually is the second leading cause of death in young adults. Some risk factors for suicide: depression, substance abuse, drug abuse issues, mental disorders. Maybe they've had a prior suicide attempt. Maybe they have a family history of mental health issues, family history of attempted suicides or carried through suicides. Firearms in the home can be a big risk factor. Incarceration, the previous incarceration or a current incarcerated family member. Maybe they've been exposed to other suicidal behaviors. Maybe with kids, maybe it's their friends. Okay. So lots of different kinds of, I want to go to the book here. Let's see. I'm going to share this with you, but there's a couple of areas of the book I want to share with you in chapter 45 in your med-surg book. I'm going to bring this up. I want you to be aware of. Okay, so I'm in chapter 45, care of patients with emergent conditions, shock and trauma. This is part of your reading. Just want to cover one section of it. Okay, prevention of accidents. There's 3 ways. So I'm on page 1047 in your med-surg book. Okay, prevention of accidents. And this is, I think there are at least a couple of questions regarding prevention of accidents on HESI. So I want to cover this.
1047.
Are you sure that's the page number? Because I'm in my med-surg book and it's not, it's 10.
I'm on 1047 of the chapter 45 in your med-surg book.
My chapter 45 is
Oh.
1051.
1051.
1051. Okay. Do you see this section, Laura?
Yeah, I thought you were looking for a graph, sorry.
Okay, so prevention of accidents, home safety. I want you to review box 45.1. Okay. It goes through areas of the home, different areas of the home, the kitchen, storage areas, living room, furnace, bathroom, bedroom, stairways, and general areas. Just to get an idea of some strategies for ensuring safety in the home. So these are things that you would be looking for when you do your home health visit, right? Doing your home safety assessment.
I'm sorry. What page? What's this one for the med-surg?
This is
351.
part of your week 9
Thank
reading.
you.
It was chapter 45 in the med-surg, in your med-surg book.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm in the home prevention of accidents section. Okay. So reading through box 45.1 gives you some ideas as the home health nurse as you're in the home doing home safety evaluations. What would you be looking for? Okay, to ensure safety. The other second part of safety, prevention of accidents, safety is highway safety. Okay, this is the teaching of the emphasis of using seatbelts, not driving under the influence, discouraging the use of cell phones. And then the third safety area is water safety. And this just gives you an overview that if somebody's been injured in the water, okay, you can try and assist them in the water if you can by keeping their head above water. But if they need CPR, you're going to have to take them out of the water. So a victim of a diving injury, not removed from the water until EMS arrives. Maybe there's a possible neck or spinal cord injury, right? If you're there assisting, immobilize the head and neck. Try and keep the victim's face out of the water. I've highlighted this section. I'd like you to know. The victim is not breathing and rescue breathing is needed. You're going to have to remove them from the water. Okay. So I'd like you to review that section, okay, of home safety. Okay, let's talk about, let's see. Josephine, are you back? I can't see you.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Okay. Let's talk about culture. I'm glad we save this last concept for to talk about last, because it really is one of the most important concepts we cover. Cultural influences in nursing. We've hit on this during different weeks, but we as nurses are always working to be culturally competent, right? We're working to be culturally competent over the span of all of our years in nursing. We're always being introduced to new cultures, new clients from different cultures. And this is something we're going to be working with throughout our whole career. All right. So culture is, what is culture? Think about all the different cultures. Your own culture is everything you believe to be true about the world. Okay. Your culture, I say yours, we all have a different culture. It's whatever our values are, our beliefs are, our assumptions about life, right? Our practices. Okay. And typically we're raised in a certain culture from childhood. So we grow up knowing, believing, acting, and practicing whatever culture we're from. Right? Different ethnic groups may have have cultural similarities, but there's also many, many differences. But it's important to remember that we are all unique because we all grew up differently in different cultures. So culture encompasses a wide range of behaviors. Different cultures have different languages. They have different perceptions on touch, different perceptions on personal space. Their body language indicates certain behaviors. They have different perceptions of health and illness. right? Your culture also influences whatever your family structure is, your childbearing practices. We talked about time orientation. Some cultures are past oriented, present oriented, and future oriented. What does eye contact look like with the different cultures? Some cultures like to make eye contact, others do not. So part of our journey to cultural competence is that we need to be able to approach each client or each patient as completely unique, right? We're trying to look at their culture through their eyes, through observation and assessment. Okay, if you're taking care of clients from different cultures, you're always observing, what are they saying? What are they doing? What are their family members saying? What are their family members doing? Right? If you don't understand or you're unfamiliar with a particular culture that you're caring for a client, what do you do? What are some ways that you can gain awareness to their cultures? That was a
Ask
question for all of you. So what are some ways? I'd like some participation here, please. What are some ways that you gain cultural awareness?
Asking them or researching it.
Asking them, sure. Researching it. Maybe you have a coworker or a family member or a friend that is from that particular culture.
Getting involved,
Getting involved. Yeah. Learning about the culture. Absolutely. What else? I mean, have we all already in our short healthcare careers for you guys taking care of clients from different cultures?
Yes.
Everybody? Yes? Yes? No? What?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. So how did you learn to care for them competently?
Like
Not being judgmental,
Pardon me?
not being judgmental to them.
Yes, exactly. Part of it. How else
getting
did you learn?
getting to know them, establishing a relationship with them.
Mhm.
Keeping communication, because even then sometimes they just bring it up on their own. Like if they don't feel comfortable with being cared for by a male, they'll be quick to tell you, I prefer a female, and that's
Mhm.
how you would kind of know for future reference.
Yep. Yep.
And if you show interest in them, like a lot of them, they'll have a story to tell you every time you
Yeah, absolutely.
enter
Absolutely.
the
What if
room.
there's a language barrier? What do you do?
Get an interpreter or use your phone for all the different apps that they can translate for you.
Okay.
Language line.
Okay. Okay.
For our cultural one, are we supposed to know all the differences between the Roman Catholics, the Protestants, the Muslims, the Jews, and all of that stuff, like food differentiation?
Where are you getting that from, Laura?
I'm getting that from the chapter 14 that you had us read.
Okay, I'm going to
There
go
was a
through
bunch of
chapter.
different crap.
I'm going to go through chapter 14. And we'll address that because there is a box in there that has different cultures and different beliefs. So, observation. Okay, examples of cultural variations. Okay, food choices maybe is something that we need to address. Their view of their care. I mean, one of the things that we want to do with each culture we're working with is not only be aware of their values and beliefs and practices, but we have to try and incorporate as much of their culture into their plan of care. Right? And that may be as simple as, having a menu that is a kosher menu. Right? They may have different dietary preferences. They may have different visiting visitor not requirements, but who can come and see them, who can't. Right? They may have different they may view end of life scenarios very differently. Right? We need to try and maintain an objective attitude towards individuals and their cultures, avoid seeing all individuals as alike. And we have to be mindful of our own cultural beliefs from our own cultures. Our culture is not superior to anybody else's. Right? We can't be projecting our cultural beliefs onto clients of other cultures. Cultural awareness, self-examination, and exploration of one's own biases. Do we have any biases? Do we have any prejudices towards this particular culture? Those are things that we need to think about. Because if we don't have cultural knowledge, we don't have cultural competence in working with specific cultures, it's not going to work. Okay, we're going to feel helpless, and so will the client. And so before I jump to chapter 14, I'd like to read to you this. I think this, what I have highlighted here in yellow, is an excellent, excellent synopsis about cultural competence. To develop cultural competence, we need to be sensitive to the cultural implications during every encounter. Avoid stereotyping based on race, ethnicity. Ask questions to stimulate learning about the client's culture. Avoid making assumptions about nonverbal cues from clients from unfamiliar cultures. Make the ongoing discovery of various cultures a priority in your nursing practice. That's why I say this is playing it forward. This is going to be throughout your whole career. Okay? Always learning about discovery of various cultures a priority all the way through your nursing career, using a variety of sources. Maybe the internet, maybe the patient themselves, maybe their families, maybe you have a coworker, maybe you have a neighbor, right? Avoid believing that one's own culture is superior to others. Okay? And that's what we're going to do a case study on in a minute. So this is chapter 14 in your fundamentals book. Okay? And there's a couple of things I want to go through. Go ahead. What is culture? We've just gone through this. Okay, but this paragraph right here, from here to here, is an excellent summation of what is culture in general. Okay? Culture is learned and acquired. Culture is shared by groups. Culture is incorporated into our identity. Okay? I think this is what you were talking about, Laura.
Yes, ma'am.
No, not there yet. Hang on. Laura was talking about this. Table 14.3. I've highlighted a few different cultures in there and highlighted what I want you to know. Okay, so I've highlighted the Hispanic Americans and the American Indians. Okay. Those are the two particular cultures I would like for you to review. But if you want to review the whole box, it's really excellent, excellent information about the different cultures you may be working with. Asian Americans, African Americans, European Americans, Arab Americans are also included in here. So let's just take Hispanic, for example. Often seek help from within the family when they first become ill. They may also seek services from, say, a folk healer. Wearing of religious objects and placing them in their home is common. Okay, so these are just common cultural values, practices, and beliefs of 6 different common cultures. American Indians, okay, they believe in keeping a natural harmony between humans and the universe. They believe in the cyclic nature of birth, life, and death. Healthcare practices are linked to spirituality, very important in the Indian culture, living in harmony with the universe. Okay, the family and community provide strength and spiritual support in times of illnesses. Okay. But I do want to go back and talk about some barriers. I highlighted this section. Sorry. I know you were assigned to read the whole chapter and just pointing out. Okay, bear with me. Developing cultural competence. We talked about that. Involves the knowledge. I get a lot of my notes. I do a lot of my weekly notes based on your readings. So you'll see some of this you've already seen on your notes that I've highlighted in the book. Cultural competence involves in knowing yourselves, examining your own values, attitudes, beliefs, and prejudices, keeping an open mind and trying to see the world from a different cultural perspective. Some barriers. We've touched on these. Stereotyping. Okay, we do not want to be stereotyping. Prejudice. What is prejudice? Right? Some kind of a manifestation that we have about a particular group. Another barrier is called ethnocentrism, which simply believes that we think our culture is better than yours. Cultural conflict will arise. All right. If there is any kind of a misunderstanding that you as the caregiver have about your client. Right. So cultural conflict is perceived as a threat arising from any kind of misunderstanding of expectations when the nurse is really unable to respond appropriately to what the client's needs are. And then cultural shock is kind of the ultimate barrier, right? Where there's a feeling of helplessness, discomfort, disorientation when you're trying to understand or learn about or adapt to a cultural group whose beliefs are just so radically different from yours that you're unable to provide culturally competent care. Does that make sense? And one other section, we talked about that. One other section was just a review of, where was it? We talked about cultural awareness. Hang on. Oh, it was these first 2 bullets here at the end of your chapter, right? So this is a good summary. If you haven't read the whole chapter and want to get an idea about the important points of the chapter, read these bullet points. Okay. It's a review, but it's a good overview of what was covered in the chapter and the important points. That's why I've highlighted this. This is actually a really good chapter, actually to read from start to finish, because cultural competence is something that must be achieved. And it's a work in progress. I mean, I consider myself, after 40 years in nursing, I consider myself culturally competent for what I know, cultures I know. But if I come across a different culture tomorrow and I know nothing about it, I start that process all over again, learning about a different culture. But it seemed like every term, every fall that I started in the schools for 20 something years, I was either assigned to a different school or because we had groups of schools, it was always a different culture I was learning about. You know, a particular section of the community that lived in that school area that came to that school. So always take the opportunity to learn about your different clients, your different cultures. It's a journey. It's a journey through your whole career. Okay. I'm gonna break you guys out into. All right, so you guys need to pull up that case study. Breakout room 1 will have question 1, 2 will have question 2, 3 will have question 3, and it's a cultural competence reinforcing. It's a cultural competence case study, so it's reinforcing what we have just talked about. It's an excellent case study, actually. So let's go into some breakout rooms. We'll spend a few minutes in there and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the case study. Does anybody have any questions before we break out? I think you'll enjoy this case study. All right, I'll see you in a minute. Lara, did you get your invite to get into your room? You guys find the case study?
Yeah.
Yeah, we told.
You guys have question 1.
Yep, we decided it was answer A.
Okay. All right. See you in a bit.
think A will also be.
Because it's like it's still being as though their language barrier is still kind of helping with
Yeah,
You guys figure it out?
Is it D? Because you're
I
trying to
can't,
learn?
I can't tell you yet. We have to
No, I'm
come
not
back.
talking to you,
Have to come
Professor.
back as a group.
I'm talking to the group. You just
Oh.
happen to
Science and the
pop in.
curriculum that she can learn more about customs and practices of the community she serves. This demonstrates which are the
Did you like that case study? Yes, no?
Yeah.
It was okay.
I thought of it as a review for what we just talked about with the cultural competency concept. All right, let's take a look at it. And I will send you, when I send you the recording for this lecture, I will also send you this extended version of the case study in case you want to review it. It has the correct answers and the rationales.
Okay.
Okay. So, group one, what did you come up with?
We said that the public health nurse providing the service should have a concern in obtaining an interpreter for communication.
Okay, this is group one. Okay,
Yes,
so Ms. Chang is typically the first person to initiate contact with a new immigrant. She does not speak the same language as the individual who reports to the clinic, but she has access to an interpreter. So it's already assuming she has access to the interpreter.
so B would have been my next. B would have been my next answer
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah, because A's already happened, right?
Okay.
Right. So now she's aware that the clients are nervous about seeking care because they're unfamiliar with U.S. practices. Public health nurse is providing service to recent immigrants should be most concerned about which of the following. Assuming A has already happened.
Being knowledgeable about the high-risk disease
Yes.
population that she came from.
Right.
Mhm.
And let's look at the rationale. Right. Nurses need to know if there are specific risk factors for any given immigrant population. All right. For example, Southeast Asians are often at risk for Hep B, tuberculosis, intestinal parasites, visual, hearing, dental issues. Right. Most of these conditions are either preventable or treatable if managed correctly. So, another part of the rationale when working with immigrant populations, consider how their background, beliefs, knowledge may be significantly different. from those people receiving care. So we just got finished talking about that.
Yep.
Right? Language barriers may interfere with efforts to provide assistance. Right? We have to understand non-traditional healing practices of other cultures. That's another area. Non-traditional healing practices, they look different. Okay, group 2, what did you come up with?
I think it's B and E.
B.
Just because you want to take in mind like their beliefs and how like different they may act when it comes to like taking care of like their modesty, their eye contact, or like how they like go by like treatment or like any illness. And you just want to keep like in mind to just respect that culture in that way.
Exactly. So B and E would be the correct answers. So Ms. Chang is a nurse who speaks both English and Chinese. She's dealing with a new Hmong immigrants who speak Laotian as their primary language. And they're unfamiliar with our healthcare practices. How is cultural competence demonstrated in dealing with the population? Okay, so B, correct answer. The nurse provides care while paying attention to the individual's beliefs about pain, touch, modesty, eye contact. Right? The other correct answer was the nurse provides care that acknowledges the difference in ways individuals respond to illness and treatment. So the purpose there is trying to, like I said, trying to incorporate as much of their culture into their healthcare. Can't just ignore it. Right? Let's read the rationale behind that. Culturally competent nurses function effectively when caring for other clients of other cultures. All right. To be cultural competent, have cultural competence means that you can function, care for effectively. Right. So nurses who strive to be culturally competent respect people from other cultures. They value diversity. And this helps them provide more responsive, competent care. Right. Cultural competence includes acknowledging the fundamental differences in the ways clients and families respond to illness and treatment from maybe what your response might be, or your thinking might be, or your beliefs might be. All right. So again, paying attention to dietary practices, pain, death and dying issues, modesty, eye contact, closeness, personal space, touching. Okay. So now the nurse, Ms. Chang, is going to attend a class at the local Laotian Cultural Center, so she can learn more about the customs and practices of that community. Great idea, right? That's a great way to continue to learn about a culture that you're going to be caring for. So this demonstrates which of the following elements of cultural competence. Group 3, what was this?
Cultural knowledge.
Knowledge. Why is that, Lisa?
Because she's educating herself. She went to a class to learn.
Exactly. And so this rationale is good because it talks about the differences between desire, skill, awareness, and knowledge. Let's read through this. So knowledge, cultural knowledge, which was the correct answer, is information about organizational elements or cultural knowledge is the information about the culture, different practices, beliefs, values about the culture, right? So the emphasis is on learning about the client's worldview from their perspective, right? An understanding of the client's culture decreases misinterpretations or misapplications of knowledge and facilitates the client's cooperation with the healthcare plan, right? The more you can incorporate their cultural makeup into their health plan, the more successful it's going to be for everybody. You as the caregiver, them as the client, whether this is in the hospital or in the home. Okay, so cultural desire. Okay, so now we're just going through the different terminology here. Cultural desire is your motivation. What's your desire? What's your motivation to provide culturally competent care? Right? That's what your desire is. You know, I know that this year in the school setting, there has been a large influx of a Vietnamese population. So my cultural desire, my cultural motivation is to learn as much as I can about the Vietnamese culture, whether it's through the kids in school, the parents, maybe a trusted community leader who works with the Vietnamese population, maybe the interpreter, right? It's all about what effort, what desire, what motivation I want to put into that to learn about the culture so I can effectively care for these kids and communicate with these parents. Right? Cultural skill refers to the effective meshing or integration of your awareness and your knowledge. Okay, so that you can obtain relevant current data about the culture to meet the needs of your client. So it's your skill. What's your competency skill? Are you ready to go tackle that new population that's in the community and you're the community nurse? Do you have that skill? Do you have that competency to do so? Right? Have you gained enough knowledge? Have you gained enough awareness? Okay, and then the cultural awareness is simply awareness. Self is a self-examination, in-depth exploration of our own beliefs from our own culture and values and how they influence our behavior. Right? So cultural awareness of our own culture, whatever culture you belong to, cultural awareness of the clients. Okay? So that's a really good overview case study of everything we've just been talking about. But it really is a wonderful concept to end on, and the term content on cultural competence, because really, if you think about it, your nursing practice is going to encompass your ability to be culturally competent through your whole journey, right? It really is. So does anybody have any questions? Covered a lot today. I know I really hammered in the cultural competency concept, but it's going to be on every exam. It's going to be in your quizzes. It's going to be in your HESI, and then it's going to be in life, in your actual life experiences. You're not always going to be caring for people of your own culture.
Which is why I wanted to bring up that policy.
Anybody have any questions? Okay. I will send you the recording here in a bit. I will also send that case study with the detail in it in case you want to review it, because it really has it is a nice summary of cultural competency, the case study. And then I'll also send you Professor Ford's. That's fine, Laura, just stay on. I will also send you Professor Ford's exam 3 review from this morning. Okay. I hope you guys have a good rest of the week. I'm going to stop recording. If anybody has any questions and wants to stay on, Danya, stay on. I need to talk to you. But have a good rest of the week. And if you need any help preparing for exam 3, just reach out and we can set up a tutoring session. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Have a
you.
good week.